I do ask that everyone that is able to please stand at this time and join us in our grand entry. And we march in our Eagle staffs, our colors, and start today in a good way. We have our head veteran, Mr. George Martin, ready to... And I'm going to turn it over, and please help me welcome our Blue House Singers, who are going to begin with grand entry here this morning. Leading in our veterans today, we have Mr. George Martin, United States Air Force, and Brant Mitchell, United States Navy. They are carrying in the Korean War Medewin Eagle Staff. Carrying the Mount Pleasant Indian Industrial Boarding School Eagle Staff, Mr. Paul Walker, Saginaw, Chippewa, Gitchida Boarding School Survivor. Carrying in the Saginaw, Chippewa Eagle Staff, Kathy Wendling, United States Army. Carrying in the Nadosepi Huron Band of Potawatomi Eagle Staff, Doug Tangor, United States Army, retired. Carrying in the Pokagon Community Eagle Staff, Tyler Dotson, United States Army. Carrying in the Ogeechee Zundawagan, Judy Peters, United States Air Force, 18 years. Carrying in the Gun Lake Community Eagle Staff, Jeff Martin, United States Army. Carrying in the Wadasa Ogeechee Staff, Amos Pond, United States Army. Carrying in the Zegnuada Ogeechee, Sam Austin, United States Army. Carrying in the Little River Eagle Staff, O.J. Padanaquat, United States Army. And carrying in the 20-year Sundance Staff, Beatrice Jackson. The nation's colors and the host community, the Saginaw Chippewa Indian Tribe flag, Dr. Minnie Martin, Saginaw VA retired. Carrying in the United States of America flag, Mark Wilson, United States Army, retired. Carrying in the Canadian First Nations flag, Sharman Anderson, United States Army. Carrying in the state of Michigan flag, Kelly Willis, United States Army, Saginaw Chippewa Indian Tribe member. Carrying in the Bay Mills community flag, Michael Mitchell, United States Army, 1974 to 1986. Carrying in the Grand Traverse bag, I'm in Chippewa, Grand Traverse Band member. Carrying in the Hannahville Indian community flag, Karen Lada, Odawa volunteer. Carrying in the Keweenaw Bay Indian community flag, Joseph Samek, volunteer. Carrying in the Lac Vieux Desert Tribal Nation flag, India Perez, United States Marine Corps, 2018 to 2023. Carrying in the Little River Band flag, Mike McCreary, volunteer. Carrying in the Little Traverse Bay Band flag, Eli Bennett, volunteer. Carrying in the Gun Lake Community flag, Rod Mandarinen, United States Marine Corps, 1964 to 1968. As our colors make it around again, carrying the Nottoway Huron Band of Potawatomi, Devon Harris, Nottoway Huron Band Potawatomi Ogichida Society. Carrying in the Pokagon community flag, Leon McFall, United States Army, 1965 to 1967. And carrying in the Sault Ste. Marie flag, Ray Cadets, United States Army, Vietnam. Chimigwech to all of our Ogichida warriors and veterans and our volunteers. And Chimigwech to all of our volunteers carrying in those students, lanyards and those names. We say them and show them proudly here. They are not forgotten, and we pay honor and tribute to those students here today. Chimigwech for all of you assisting us in carrying in our grand entry here today. And round of applause for our Blue House singers here today. Also want to take the opportunity here today to acknowledge our Veterans and Warrior Society, those that have served in the United States military, protecting our freedoms. Round of applause to all of our Saginaw Veterans and Warrior Society here this morning. Chimigwech for your service. And the volume, the extended grant entry today for those 227 names for those children who perished at the school or as a result of attending the school. The crowd that you stand and honoring those students today. Chimigwech for all our volunteers, and showing just how many that are documented and many more, that there's still much work to be done to uncover the truths of this time. I do ask that you remain standing. We're going to turn back to our Blue House singers to honor these flags, and we will go back to Blue House to pay tribute to the flags and eagle staffs with a flag and honor song. Chippewa to the Blue House Singers, and the sound you hear this morning for those, the heartbeat of our ancestors that resonate from the drum, once forbidden on these grounds, here today to celebrate that, here today to honor those students, to make sure we pay tributes, wearing the regalia, practicing our culture and traditions here today. We say Chimigwech to each and every one of you for joining us here today for honoring, healing, and remembering. I do ask that you remain standing as I now have the opportunity and pleasure to welcome to the microphone Isabella Swamick, our Anishinaabe Outreach Specialist for the Saginaw Chippewa Indian Tribe Anishinaabe Language Revitalization Department, for an opening prayer. Please help me welcome Isabel.
Bonjour. Nimne do execute quendish nikas, pitchin do dem, ko enad moed. Miigwech Nadok, Ushtudan King is Gabriek, Wabanum, Jaunum, Epikishmak, Giwednum, Spimengijum, Skakmakwe, Mino Mompig Nanagwe. Miigwechge, Kana Guja, Ayajik, Gundak, Beneshik, Nadok, Wesink, Nadok, Gigoik, Nadok, Nidosak, Nadok. Miigwechge Ndikit, Manda Nesewin, Nido. Miigwechge Ndikit, Wimshkudem, Nido. Miigwechge Gdibum, Kenenchie, Bish, Nidok. Mino, Miigwech Dikit, Ake, Nidok. Mino Mampikana Emanjidik, Nungo, Chitogishkak. Quen Mangundak Benojik, Mampikam Mekinomagasajik. Mandik Chigete Economagegum, Mampi Etek. Miigwech Manjidiang Mampi, Kenam Najang Gundak, Benojik. Minogum Quedmigum Benojik. Miigwech Gendinak Shimaganishak, Digmo, Gdamana Nikunda, Shimaganishak, Mampi Eajik. Mino Kewenan, Mino Gitzimak, Nokamisak, Mishom Sinanik, Mino Kinamampi Benojik Eajik. Mino Gima, Mino Kinamampi, Ni Bembidojik Manda, Ni Shkonagan Mampi, Kinagegum Nabdig, Miigwech Dikit. I acknowledge the directions, the species, the elements. I said miigwech to all of them, and I also said miigwech to the veterans, the elders, the parents, and everybody that makes this together, and in honor of all the children that went to school here and the ones that had walked on, and we haven't forgotten them. We still remember them on our gathering here today. Nahal, miigwech, miigwech, miigwech.
And Miigwech, and we thank Isabel today, obviously giving us the opportunity to hear the beautiful Anishinaabe language here today as we pay tribute and open this up. At this time, I do ask that, ladies and gentlemen, you may post your colors under the tent of the Eagle staff, under your head veteran George Martin's lead. We will post our colors. Everyone may now be seated. We're going to get the colors posted. We're going to come right back here for our welcoming and opening remarks from our dignitaries. But we'll let Mr. Martin lead the Ogitchida and our volunteers to post our colors. Give everyone just a few minutes and then welcome us back here for that. So first up with us today, we have Tribal Chief Tim Davis of the Saginaw Chippewa Indian Tribe. Everyone, please help me welcome Chief Tim Davis.
Thank you, Eric. As always, a great job. Just want to say welcome to all the nations that came today. Appreciate it. I know you had long drives and safe drives, and have a great time here, and safe travels back home. I go by this place often. I grew up 3-4 miles up the road, same as former Tribal Chief Steve Pigo. He was in the same neighborhood, so we go by here often. And I remember the words my grandmother, Jessie Davis, used to say, that there's a lot of children on both sides of the road that will never make it home. And it was mentioned earlier, there's still some that are still here. We don't know where they're at, but they're still here. And we'd like to find them one day and do the honorable thing for them. So, it makes me sad when I go by here because I remember the words from my grandmother. And I know that when you lose somebody, it's just heartbreaking. You never, ever get over it. You know, some people say you do, but I don't believe that really is true. So, I'm glad to be here as of last year and a few years before that. And we have a great team of people that put this event on, and it's just so heartwarming that this happens every year, and I hope it goes on for forever, as long as the river flows and the grass grows. You know, so I think that's enough words for me, and you just have a wonderful day, a healthy day, and thank Mother Earth for every day. Thank you.
Chief McGuetch, Chief Davis, for those words and acknowledgement here today. It is now my pleasure to introduce to you Emily Paskey, who is with the Office of the Governor for the State of Michigan, Associate Legal Counsel, and our Tribal Liaison. Please help me give a warm welcome to Emily Paskey.
Thank you. As Eric mentioned, I'm the Governor's Tribal Liaison and Associate Legal Counsel. Happy to be here. Thank you to Saginaw, Chippewa Indian Community, Indian Tribe for having me. I'm happy to observe and participate today. I want to recognize survivors and their descendants here today who bravely show up and share your experiences over and over again on behalf of those who aren't with us to tell their own stories. Finally, I want to thank Ziegling and those who preserve these stories so that we can start building a collective memory of what happened here and at schools like this around the state of Michigan. The governor affirmed her commitment to tribal-state relations when she issued Executive Directive 2019-17, which requires each agency and department to have a tribal consultation policy and a tribal liaison. It also requires that we establish a forum where partners educate each other about cultural differences, governance, sovereignty, treaty rights, jurisdiction, and communication. You want to share? This is Ira. He's waiting for his turn on the mic. However, the heart of the work that we do in this tribal liaison role is really our two governments being in relationship with each other. And with any relationship, it requires honesty about where we've wounded each other, curiosity about repair, and affirmation of shared commitment to one another. That's okay. So that's what brings me here today on behalf of the governor's office. I've had the privilege of visiting with the tribal council here several times to discuss the significance of the Mount Pleasant Industrial Boarding School and its impact on your community across generations. And I've learned enough to know that some of the wounds in this relationship may be too deep to ever really heal, but I can promise you I'm listening. I know that repair may never really be possible, but I approach this day and this work with curiosity about how we might make the wound hurt less. We can't rewrite what happened here, but I am committed to examining the system that led this to happen in the first place, and I'm committed to investigating the ways that policies of family separation and cultural oppression still permeate our system today. I look forward to this day together, and thank you again for having me.
Chief McGuetch, Emily, and thank you for those words and partnership. Emily has been a great liaison in communication, and we hope to continue to build and grow the partnership with the state of Michigan. At this time, another great community partner we'd like to welcome up, Central Michigan University President Dr. Neil McKinnon, who has been tremendous since he has taken this tenure and the helm of Central Michigan University. So if everyone could please help me welcome Dr. Neil McKinnon, President of Central Michigan University.
All right, well, thank you, Eric, and everyone. And I have a confession I just wanted to start to make. I had some prepared remarks today, but just being in the line, experiencing everything I experienced the last 5 minutes, I just wanted to speak from the heart instead. And so, you know, I started as president November 1st, and as many of you know, I'm originally from Canada. And just reflecting on the truth and reconciliation movement in that nation. There was a national commission, 140 residential boarding schools in that nation. And on September 30th, there's a national holiday there now, Truth and Reconciliation Day. When I think of Canada and the U.S. are similar, even though there's a lot of tensions going on right now, a lot of overlap, and I think the tribal spirit, the tribal land is one of those connections that we share across borders. I'm a citizen of both countries now. But when I first came here, my very first month, I met with the tribal council, and I shared with Chief Davis. We went out for lunch as well, shared with my observations in Canada. I know many of you are wearing the orange shirts as well. That's the color that represents this. And what I would like to do, certainly as the leader of our university, is, you know, how do we take those lessons from Canada perhaps and apply them here, and more specifically to the university setting. And we have Casey Perez here today with our Office of Indigenous Affairs. My goal is that CMU, our relationship, with the Saginaw Chippewa Indian tribe, we become a national leader in this area. And part of this, I think, for me personally, on a very personal level, is to experience things like today, understand the past, and to reconcile with that past, but to move forward together. So this is deeply moving for me today, just to be here. I want to thank you, Eric and Chief Davis, for the invitation to be part of this. And you have my firm commitment. I know with leaders like Casey and others at our university, we want to strengthen this partnership and to move forward together. So I just want to thank you again for this opportunity to say a few words. Thank you. Jimmy Gwech.
Jimmy Gwech, President McKinnon's, and it's so refreshing to hear that we have great partners and the opportunities to find ways to continue to do the good work that we're doing and have support of our local partners. And speaking of that support, our last dignitary with us here today is Mayor Boomer Wingard from the city of Mount Pleasant. The city co-manages kind of this space, the acreage that we have here, but the 300 that is under the 300 plus acres, that is on the National Register of Historic Places from the great team at Zebwing that had that recognition in partnership with the city of Mount Pleasant and the state of Michigan, and its partners like the city of Mount Pleasant that help make that possible. So today, if everyone could please help me welcome Mayor Boomer Wingard.
Thank you. Uju, good morning. Again, my name is Boomer Wingard. On the walk, I had the honor of carrying the name of Lucy Jackson Davis. She was 23, just 4 or 5 years younger than myself. On behalf of the city of Mount Pleasant, it is an honor to be here this morning. Today we reflect on and realize the power of history. History is not only facts and figures, although that is important. It's the ability to refocus the past and carve out a path for how we approach the future and each other. A future with mutual respect, growth, understanding, and healing. A future that covets our sacred traditions, cultures, and education for all. These shared beliefs have forged a strong partnership between the tribe and the city, and we genuinely appreciate the relationship and the opportunity to work alongside the tribe regarding continued boarding school era outreach and awareness. The city looks forward to traversing with you down the path of continued growth, learning, and understanding. Thank you for sharing your traditions with us. It is a great honor. And as we reflect on, this is my first year being here. This is my second year attending the sunrise ceremony earlier. And I just reflect on the fact that at each meeting we read our land acknowledgement statement that the city resides on the historic home of the tribe. And we express our full acknowledgement of the history of the tribe. That acknowledgement is not complete without acknowledging the pain and hardship that occurred here. So I thank you all for sharing your stories with us, with myself, and working with the city to move forward so that we can grow together. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Wingard, and thank you to all of our speakers this morning. Thank you very much for attending and making the time to attend this powerful event. And that's what we hear time and time again. We're here, the Zebwing team, the committee of the Mount Pleasant Indian Industrial Board School does a great job in making sure, to the remarks that you all made, it's not forgotten. We could continue to find ways to partner and make sure we're celebrating the good partnerships, but also the great work being done by so many. So thank you very much. One more time for our speakers, and then thank you very much for those welcoming remarks. If I could now invite up Mr. Joseph Summit. Joe's going to come up. He was our MC this morning and one of our cultural leaders at the sunrise ceremony. At this time, I'd also like to invite up into the arena Mr. Steve Pigo and Mr. George Martin, as they're going to share, as we had conducted a pipe ceremony this morning. But at this time, I would like to welcome Steve Pigo, George Martin, and Joseph Summit to the arena to talk about the pipe ceremony and to share a few words on what we had observed this morning for those of you that were not able to join us. So please help me welcome Mr. Joe Summit.
Jimmy Gwech, appreciate the opportunity to go ahead and to be at another HHR ceremony, to go ahead and to put the medicine first, to put our language first, to put our culture first, to go ahead and to have the Agichida, the Anishinaabe Kwe, those knowledge keepers, bringing those Powagans. it's something special. And to go ahead and to be on the grounds where we were for the sunrise ceremony. I know one of my ancestors, Shah Wewe Nabis, was the signer of the 1855 treaty. And I know there's a lot of tribal members here that have connections to this boarding school and connections to some of the challenges that we face. But through bringing that medicine forward and those teaching forwards, we can go ahead and to have that resilience that Chief Davis talked about. And to go ahead and to look at the leadership, to have tribal council here, to have not only Chief Davis, our tribal chaplain, Alice Ricketts, and a lot of our other council members here, that makes all the difference in the world. And I appreciate our knowledge keepers, and I'm going to go ahead and to turn it over to our former chief, my friend Steve Bigo.
Bonjour. Je sta bij deze kaas, en als je kan horen, moet je gewoon eens naar binnen gaan. Het is zo breed. We did our picks this morning, so we're just gonna talk a little bit about it. Back in the day, I carved my first pipe, and I was just learning about our Kowagan. And so when I was carving it, I got the dust on my hands, and when I washed my hands, it was like blood, the color of blood, you know, and I didn't know much about it. And then at that time, I was using, and so that right there turned me around. A long time ago, I quit carving it for a while until I learned more about it. I'm originally a stone carver, carved stone, and so I learned quite a bit about it. You know, first of all, you know, at that time when they said that we were going to lose everything of our language, of our culture, of our ceremonies, and we've and that was part of it, of the learning, and learning that our lodges doorways are always to the east, because that's where life begins. And then our journey as we go through this life to that western doorway where we make our journey. And so with Winnebujo, when he was naming everything on this earth, as he's going through each time, learning of everything, until by the time he got to the western doorway, he was an elder. But through that whole time, he learned of life, where fear came from, where, you know, the first marriage, everything. And then when he got to that western doorway, because he was searching for his dad, and that was the Creator. And when he got to that western doorway, he met his dad. And the first thing that he did was he fought with him. And so just to this day, you know, we're always fighting with our dad somehow, sometime. And I've done it. But anyways, after they got done, he had this bandolier bag, and it was a floral design. And he reached in that bag and he pulled out the wagon, the pipe. And so that's where we believe that where our pipe came from. And I also, we love that floral design, right? And that's where it came from. And so anyways, where the pipe came from, the Pipestone quarry and all that, Beaches will probably talk about that. But during my years, I after I learned about and became older and understanding our Anishinaabe ways, I've reached my third degree in our Medewan Society, and I've thinking about fourth, but it's down the road. But our stories are so beautiful. Our teachings, and I'll leave it at. I got to visit Clear Lake, where there was the petroglyphs, and got to go with Bob Waden event, and he talked about the petroglyphs, and there actually was a G-mon with a sail on it, looked like lollipops. And he said that was way before the Mayflower, and it was way, I don't know, supposed to be going way back. They knew that that kind of a boat was going to come here. And so they put everything of our teachings on that stone. And I'm kind of understanding that now. And then the petroglyphs that we have in the Mitten here, in the thumb area, has a archer. And that archer is shooting an arrow into the future, meaning that our ancestors thought about us. They knew all this was going to happen. And so they said, we're going to send us into the future for us. Just think about it. They thought of us way back then. And when I was standing on that petroglyph, it just brought tears to my eyes. That they would think about us now. And so my saying is, what are we going to send into the future? Anybody ever think about it, And I've thought that the women are doing it. The women are raising the water. Nipi Wabu. They're carrying that so that our children, our grandchildren, will have clean water to drink. That's what the women are sending into the future. So I just want to say big regrets for all the women that are doing this. And so at that, I'll he just lit her pipe again. Just kidding. But she's gonna she lit her pipe, so.
Wai Bujo, Nindabe Maganidak, Minesikwe Indigenous Cause, Minawa Salim Lailuk. I am Tlingit Shimshin Kapana from the Northwest Coast. And I am with Steve and May. We're third degree Meday people. And we have a lot of stories about our beautiful Medizi Miigwans that we carry. There's a long story about how we were on our way to Meday ceremonies and we saw Channel 9 and 10 that knocked down this eagle. Steve turned around that truck so quick, and he came over there and he grabbed it. He says, "This is our eagle. Beatrice has a permit. Don't you, Beatrice?" I go, "Yes, I do." And so I got out the permit, and Steve took that eagle to the 4 directions and pointed it around, and we picked that up and we ran like heck. We went to Cedarville, and our friend Francis Sutcher took care of us. And it was probably maybe a year after that Steve, I'll share, he had a dream, and that eagle came to him in that dream. He said, "Thank you for rescuing me, that I wasn't just hit and thrown in some old truck, but you wrapped me in red cloth. You took good care of me." So your eagle feathers from your eagle women, that was May Pigo and Angie Francisco and Steve's McGeezy Meegwin and mine, we have healing in our feathers. We take really good care of them. We take them wherever we go, and we honor that, because that eagle honors us. That eagle is the first caretaker, who we say that helped form us when we were still in the up above. We have many of our passed down teachings that came to us from many, many places. And mine came in 1995, and I was here, and I lost my daughter in a car accident. She wasn't smoking or drinking. She had a good day of bowling, and she was just screaming at the top of her lungs, and she was happier and happy. And it was raining at Bay Mills, and they hit a bump, and they fell off the road and hit a tree, and she was gone. And I was trying to think, what am I going to do? This pain is more pain than if the truck toppled over on me. And then I found out at the same time that our Grand Chief, Bud Waywood Benesi, lost his daughter, I think on her way to Gathering of Nations. And he said, "Well, come to the lodge, Beatrice, come to the lodge." And so I did, with my heart in my hand and my skirt and my pillow and a sleeping bag, and I came. I've always stayed there. And I got, my sponsor was Clyde Belcourt. Him and Josephine Mendaman were my initiate sponsors, and Josephine and I had been sundancing for a while by that time. And she says, "You know, if you have a quaggan, you have that red pipestone, you have to go back to the place where that pipestone was born from, the pipestone quarries." And we have a story about that. We have a teaching that there was a time of the great flood, and there's also a time of wars. And they said this woman, she was running for her life, and she found a big hill, and she climbed up on that hill, and she was crying because all her family, her tribe had perished, and she didn't know what to do. And then out of that western direction came this great big giant eagle. He said, "I am going to take care of you. In fact, I'm going to marry you." And that's what he did. And he said, "The bones and blood of your ancestors are in the ground, but they will become pipestone. And people from all over the world will come, and they'll use that stone to send the prayers to the Creator." So we have that sacred teachings of how beautiful the pipestone is, the blood and bones of our ancestors. And I was a sundancer, and I just finished my 20 years sundancing, because they told me, if you want to heal, you have to do more than the healer does for you. You got to put your blood and sweat into it too. And that's what I did, to pray for strength. And there's nothing that we can't overcome. And our Medewan Lodge is a place of great teachings. The repository at Z-Wing Center. You know, I remember Lorraine and Charmaine and different ones of us that sang that song over there, that prophecy song that you hear with that heartbeat area. And it's Dan Pine, and he sings a song that someday in the morning the children are going to pick up this path. Ame mashata kif wabitaben gimme go me ganani kengo ba. So we hold songs like that dear because of the meaning. And last month I went to North Dakota to visit Leonard Peltier because he was released from that prison. And many, like Steve talked about, were on the longest walk. In fact, he was on the walk before there was a walk. Probably the BIA takeover. Have you been to this place before? Yeah, I've been there a few times, you know. But I talked with Leonard, and I said, Leonard, what are we going to do? He says, we're going to continue. He says, but this is what we're going to do. All you kids out there, did you have your last day of school yet? Any of you teens out there have your last day of school? He said, young people, when you're in school, study as hard as you can because we need our doctors. We need our nurses. We need our attorneys. We need our chiefs. We need all these skills to help us with technology, to get our land back and to do all these things. But it can't be done without hard work. You have your elders here that are standing behind you. You have the Ogichita that are standing. You have mom and dad begging you to get up in the morning, go to school. Do it, but give it all you got. Give back and come home to your tribe and be of work here. Do this work. Do this work and be all that you can be. So I stand by that. And my name is Salim Laluk. I came from British Columbia. And like some of these children, they didn't always have it an easy time. And my mom was, she was stolen from Ketchikan, Alaska. And they were going to put her in a baby black market and sell her. And on the way, she hurt her leg and broke it, threw her in an orphanage. She never saw her family again. So the family of the Judsons I come from, they cried for that little girl. She was 2. What happened to that little Beatrice? What happened to her? So in May, I went back to Seattle and I had my naming ceremony with my own people. And they gave me this name. They said, her name is, she has come home again, Salim Laluk. And it's a good message for me and for my children. Go home. Go home where your people need you. Salim Laluk. And I'm thankful to know my name, Swooping Down Eagle Woman. And she has come home again of the Eagle Clan, Bald Eagle Clan, and also Wolf Clan. We have 2 clans. So Steve and I work together, and I work with many of you. I'm grateful to be here and grateful to meet your new chief, the council, and all the reps over here. You guys work hard. Man, we're over there resting around and they're having these meetings, and I don't know. They're looking pretty young. Give them encouragement. Keep them going. I mean, if this Joe over here, Summit, can keep going at his age, I think he's older than me. I don't know. But we have a ways to go, and I want to thank George Martin, especially. I mean, he is the head of Wichita, not just of Michigan, but everywhere I've gone, because he was in those books, Dreamers Without Power, when he first came to Michigan. There's a big story about him in that book, in history, and our Grand Chief depended on him, and I depend on him and his family, his lovely wife, and all the kids and everything. We hold each other up, hold each other in a good place, do good, you know, keep your mouth from saying anything wrong, you know, live by your good teachings. Whatever those teachings are, just keep it up. And I'm a sun dancer, but I did sun dance for Jesus, and I pierced for him. They said, you don't need to do that. I says, nothing that says I can't, and I did, and I'm more happy for it, and happy to be alive. I've got through so many pickles, haven't I, Steve? What's going on now? What you get yourself in trouble for this time? But I keep going, and thankful for your prayers, and thank you for being here, all of you. Daisy, and who's always a go-getter and language person, and my friend over there. I see you in that yellow shirt there. Thank you for all your good work here. And drum, you guys sounded great. You sounded really good, almost as good as Moose Pimp. I love that guy. So miigwech, mikani kana.
Bonjour. My name is Paul Rafer. I'm from Shabbatown, Michigan. I'm a boarding school survivor. I went to boarding school at Holy Childhood in Harbor Springs, Michigan. And I come here to pay respect to the children that went here. As a survivor, I understand the things that they went through because I went through it. And there's other survivors here. We went through a lot. We went through physical abuse, mental abuse, sexual abuse, all these things. And we had no power at that time to defend ourselves or to stand up for ourselves. A lot of us that went there are no longer here. All the boys I ran with are gone. They drank themselves to death, not knowing. And I would have been on the same road, but I had elders that cared about me. And one of the things that happened in 1994, I come to a place in my life I didn't know why I was born. What was my purpose in this world? And this took me on a journey. I fasted. I was out in the bush for 10 days. And after that, I made a commitment to fast 7 years each time during that time. And it was coming up again, which is solstice, summer solstice, I was fasting. It wasn't intentionally to fast then, but it happened that way. Spirits led me to that time. So the first year after that, 1975, when I was out fasting, and I debated whether I wanted to tell you this or not, but it was part of my healing journey. They told me I needed to go back to that school, reclaim what I lost, bring it back to me. And at that time I thought, how am I going to get into that school? And I could break in, I'm pretty good at that. No. But I didn't know how I was going to get in. But the Spirit just said, go and reclaim what you left there. So the following weekend I went to that school, and I stood out in front of it, and I looked at it, and I could feel this nervousness in me, and I guess maybe fear of remembering what happened to me in that school. So I started walking towards this one door, and I realized this door is not the door I went into as a child at this school. So I walked around to a door that I always went in, and I went up to that door, and I opened it, and it let me in. And I decided I'd go upstairs. So I put my hand on the banister. And when I touched that banister to walk up the stairs, I heard all these children crying. Many, many, many children crying, and I began to cry. And a voice spoke to me and told me to listen for myself. Listen for myself crying. And when you hear yourself crying, then call it back to you. Call that little boy to you. So I stood there crying among all those children that were crying until I could hear myself. And when I heard myself crying, I called to him. I said, Polly, come here. And it came to me. And I said, they told me to go every place in that school that I went. So I began to walk around that school doing this everywhere. When I went into the school, it was 9 o'clock in the morning. And when I came out, it was 9:30 or 5:30 in the afternoon. But I went to every room that I was in, and all those rooms opened the doors. And I was able to call myself back, that little piece that was left there from the abuse of that little boy. And when I left there, I was whole again. And I felt good. And it was part of my healing journey. It was a hard thing to face at that time. A lot of tears were shed when I was in that school. But I was able to come back and be whole again and begin my journey. And when they tore that school down, I didn't think about when I left there, I didn't think about this until after they tore the school down, is what happened to all these children that are still alive? Because a piece of them are left in that school. I heard their cries. Some of those cries I could identify who they were. And some I couldn't. A lot of them I couldn't. But there were some that I could. Being in that school was a hard thing. Seeing what happened to the children, especially the boys. I seen the nuns walk each night, go around and kiss the boys and teach them how to kiss. And said it's okay. I'm an instrument of God, and God says this is how we should do it. And inside myself, I knew this wasn't right. But you had no control over that. You were scared, afraid. But I was glad to be able to go there and reclaim what I lost. And call that little boy back into me. And I think of these children here who never got the opportunity to grow up and to become whole. And we gather here now to honor those children that went here, and those children who are all in boarding schools and residential schools all across this land, who have suffered the same kind of abuse that I have suffered, and my peers that are here. So I'm grateful and honored to be here, and to be alive today, and to continue my healing journey as I walk this life, and what tracks I leave behind for the children that follow me. I try to do my best, be the best human being I can be a good example, not letting these bad things that happen to me control my life. So I say, miigwech. Naha.
How about you? My name is George Martin. I belong to the Lynx clan from the Ojibwe Nation. I'm originally from the Prairie Reservation in Wisconsin, but I make my home here in southwest Michigan. And I didn't go to a boarding school, but I did go to a Catholic school. Must have been a modern one because they bused us in. My grandpa was a bus driver, and there wasn't no bus, it was a paneling truck. So he took the school there. But my mother was a boarding school. She was the one in Wisconsin, Toma, Wisconsin. That's where she was at. And my dad, he was a First World War veteran, served in the war, First World War. And I'm also belong to the Free Fire Bidet Society, so does all my family. And that bidet line has never been broken in my family. Because my mother was bidet, and all her brothers, my uncles were bidet people. And I got a lot of teachings from them about it. And today we're going to show you one of our teachings about this pipe ceremony. We're going to set out our sacred object out here in front of us. And you can come look at them. You can ask questions about them, why we do it, why we use that for, why do we use it, where do you get it. But all these pipes that we have were given to us by our Creator. One person just can't make a pipe and say he's a pipe carrier. That's why a pipe has to be presented to you. You have to have witnesses to prove that it was given to you to use for the people, because that pipe was given to us to use for the people, to help our families and our neighbors. And so we're going to do that this afternoon.
We're so thankful, all these wonderful, recognized traditional religious leaders providing cultural awareness and education to the next generation of culture keepers. We're most thankful for our Saginaw Chippewa Indian Tribe of Michigan Tribal Council. So our Honorable Chief Timothy J. Davis is sitting over there. How about a hand for our Tribal Chief, please, and our Tribal Council. And we're also aware of our brethren, the governing authorities of the Anishinaabe tribes of the state of Michigan. And we have some other dignitaries here. How about a hand for all our governing authorities from our fellow tribes? Man, they're cool. We want to pay tribute to a gentleman that often gets overlooked in our culture and our ceremonies. And many years ago, Mr. George Martin bestowed upon Mr. Craig Benz. Craig is of the Saginaw Chippewa Indian Tribe of Michigan. He's a tribal citizen, and he's our fire keeper. And come on out, Craig. Don't hide over there. I see you. And come on, everybody. Bigger than that. It's a big responsibility to keep the fire for the people. And Craig has accepted this responsibility. Craig?
Right in the middle there.
Here we go. Yeah. So Craig has accepted this amazing responsibility that's bestowed upon him by Mr. George Martin. He received the staff, firekeepers staff, to keep the fire for the people of the Saginaw Chippewa Indian Tribe of Michigan and the Great Lakes Anishinaabe. And so we're going to gift him with the sacred gift of a sema for all that he brings to the people. Okay? Isabel is going to offer the sacred gift of a sema to Craig Benz for keeping our fire. And it's an amazing cultural responsibility that he has taken up, and we're most thankful for all his blessings that he gives to our people. How about that? Hand of applause for Mr. Craig Benz, Saginaw Chippewa Indian Tribe of Michigan. Nindawe Maganadu, Makade, Wase, Yamaguts, Nadishnakas, Makwa, and Dodame, Ojibwe, Anishinaabe, and Dao, Saginaw, Aking, and Don Jaba.
Bonjour, Medo Execute Kwendishnikas, Pitchin Dodem, Koenad Moed. English name is Isabel Islamic. Regret.
Saginaw Chippewa Indian Tribe of Michigan tribal community, we ask for your undivided attention. We ask for your undivided attention as we orate the names of the approximately 227 students that perished while they were attending the Mount Pleasant Indian Industrial Boarding School. Silent auction tent, we ask for silence at this time as we orate the names of the students.
Reed Claude Perns, Jenny Adams,
David Chippewa, Isaac Bird, Peter Adams,
Anna Jackson, Sarah Adams,
Jay Harrington, Mercy Hall,
Sarah Jingwa, Matilda Bradley, Minnie Thompson,
Willie Jackson, Joseph Bennett,
Elsie Bradley,
Joseph Chippewa,
Grace Nottawa, Lizzie Spruce,
Edward Messenger,
Grace Silas,
Joseph Hardley,
Emma Redbird,
Samuel Shaw, William Windigosh, Eddie Winnie, Lou Jackson Jr., Jacob Magantz, Alexander Shaw, Edwin Andrew,
Anna Finity,
Jace Corbin,
Elfie Shaboose,
Lyman Elk, Peter O. Fish,
Maud Lyons,
Peter Eggleston,
Mary A. Casey, Anna Pontiac, Emma Bill Jackson,
Samuel Foster,
Sarah Watson,
Edward Green,
Esther Otto, Martha Silas, Jessie Chatfield, Victoria Fitchett,
Kinney Bradley,
Emma Williams,
Louis Kawagoshkum,
Jenny B. Gret, Jenny Kakegop,
John Pontiac, Robert Passiony,
Alice Chickum,
James Jackson, Joseph Solomon,
Jenny Bennett,
David Williams,
Ida Johnson,
Joseph Pontiac,
Amelia Batiste, Ida Chipness,
Lyman Jackson,
Blanche Bellows, Cecilia Rapp,
Edward Chiner,
Jane Pontiac, Annabelle Wamigwans,
Louis Strong, John Chippewa, Thomas Egson, Ulysses S. Pelcher,
Mary Boca, Mary Stone,
William Thomas, Daniel Strong,
Nancy Bennett, Ida Bolton, Rosa Elk,
Henry Gilbo, Noah Henry, James Hamlin, Louis Valier,
Bessie Irons, Emma Thompson, Esther Solomon,
Andrew Thompson, John Thomas,
Mary Corbin,
Roland Paul,
Elma Paul, Francis Shaka, Ernie Pigo, Jenny Corbin, Mary Pelchier, Diana Gannon,
Eli Wheaton, Daniel Thompson,
Teresa Chusa,
William F. Winchester, William Batiste Bailey, Robert Marks,
Mary Williams,
Joseph Gravel,
Janet Thompson,
Elijah Jackson, Wesley Moses, Wesley Peters,
Deli Bennett, Elizabeth Adams,
Adam Paul, David Kiway Clouds,
Alice Walker, Lena Hetchawas,
Richard Foster, Samson Williams,
Aggie Foster,
Oscar Leahy, Daniel Agosa,
Naomi Pelchier, Clara Fisher, Rachel Collins,
Charlie Nixon,
Ida James Fisher, Julia Bailey, Rose O'Damon, Lucille Chippewa,
Joseph Chippewa,
Allison Peters,
Dennison Pelcher,
Lena Elk, Bertha Wheaton, Flossie Jackson Blackmer, Clara Collins,
Fred Foster, Collins Moses, Isaac Ashquab,
Lena Otto,
Edward Jackson,
Eileen Kay,
William Corbin,
Nancy Bennett, Thelma Peters, Eva Mae Chapman, a girl, a student of the government school, no name, Mabel Shawano,
Daniel Thompson, Joseph Williams, Wallington Pelcher, Theodore Jackson, Edward Novotny,
Mary Bowen,
Clarence Medavis, Loggers Collins, William Osagwin,
Blanche Bennett, Helen Andrews, Mary Shawagan,
Louis Joseph, Silas Hart,
Viola Fisher,
Frederick Fisher,
Regina Fisher,
Henry Thompson, Henry Pigo, David Lapointe,
Elsie Gertrude Kijik,
Myron Gordon,
Rhoda Collins,
Leota Sagan,
Charlotte Watson,
Isaiah Walker, David Thompson,
Marianne Dutton, Bessie Brown, Martha Tadgoson,
Joe Alexander, Wilson Johnson, Dennis Dutton, Charles Shaganabi,
Jenny Rapp, Rebecca Shaker, Sarah Shaker,
Wallace Shaker,
Agnes Dutton, Elizabeth Rapp,
Joseph Ayuk,
Grace Dutton,
William Westbrook,
Angeline Johnson, Victoria Rapp,
Frank Dutton,
Magaya Francis,
Albert Francis, George Williams, Joseph Adams, Edward Andrews,
Martha Kuhn, Grace Peters Bennett, Esther Sophie Augusto, Agnes Augusto, Elsie Augusto,
John Franzway,
Elizabeth Otto, Louise Augusta,
Harry Pashney, Charles Augusta,
Eliza Pano,
Joseph Bennett,
Elizabeth Augusta, Lucy Jackson Davis, Rose Joseph Sampson, Sarah Williams, Pearl Fisher, Grace Huntley Pontiac, Ida Andrews Franzway,
Jesse Kagagab,
Elizabeth Thompson, Mary Williams,
Isaac Mix, Raymond Chatfield, Amos Williams,
Amelia Johnson,
Barney Pontiac,
Maggie Cummings, Ida Rose Isaac Ashquat,
Chimigwech to both Isabel and Willie for reading those names and paying tribute today. At this time, we want to have our Blue House singers honor us with a memorial song. The way we honor those that have walked on. We invite everyone, and each and every one of you, to dance. It does not have to be in the arena. You can stand up, dance in your seat, but we pay tribute and honor to those through a memorial song on behalf of the Blue House singers. So we encourage you to pay tribute and honor to those that have walked on, those that perished, those that had to attend and go through those trials and tribulations here at the Mount Pleasant Indian Industrial Boarding Schools and others. But we are going to pay tribute with a memorial song. And we had asked that each and every one of you that feels that spirit and that heartbeat of the drum, please join in. And you can either dance in the arena, just stand up and dance at your seat, but we encourage you. So I'm going to turn it back and to our Blue House singers to respectfully honor these names and these students with a memorial song. Blue House singers, over to you. Chimigwech to the Blue House Singers and all of you for helping us pay tribute to those names and those that walked on, and we appreciate each and every one of you contributing. So thank you very much to both Isabel and to Willie. We appreciate you, as always, stepping up on that heavy responsibility here today. Chimigwech.
Buju, Ozawi Binas Ikwe Nadijnakas. My name is Danielle Collins, and I'm reading Robert Cochran, former superintendent. I stand patiently alone in the courtyard by the flagpole while groping for my oversized pocket watch. It feels heavy and is weighing down on my suit vest. I glance once more to make sure I look best in my finery. The sun is not quite up to greet the day, yet it seems to be playfully hiding behind some clouds, which appear to be omnious gray, only showing a few sun rays. The dew still exists on the lips of the grass tips, while overhead birds seem to fumble slowly out of their nest. Suddenly, the school bell rings abruptly, breaking the silence of the early morn, when the school staff begins to appear. They stand before me in the distance. Indian children, varying in all sizes, emerge from the school. Immediately, they begin to march hurriedly to their rightful places, dressed meticulously in their school uniforms. The rows of students are in a systematic order and separated by gender. They stand rigidly, still in military fashion. The students' demeanors appear to be empty, except for a few who quickly wipe the sleep from their eyes. 3 boys step out of group formation. 2 boys position the flag on the flagpole, while the other one plays reveille. When they were finished, they give me a salute as they hastily retreat back to the familiar place in the group formation. I glance at my pocket watch and then return them a faint smile of approval. Next, the roll call of the students begins and work assignments are given to them. I stress intently to the students the importance of working hard in order to continue making our school successful. Lastly, any other school business is addressed. The school bell rings a second time, signaling me to dismiss the staff and the students who quickly march off to begin their day. I now stand alone in the courtyard once again, looking at my pocket watch, mumbling to myself, it is only 5:45 a.m. I stroll back to my office to attend to the daily business of the school.
Martha is a young Indian woman in her late teens. She wears her beautiful gray pinstripe school uniform, which is covered by a white and oversized apron. She also wears black stockings and oversized black industrial shoes. Her thick black hair is bobbed short with the school's trademark fashionable bangs.
Hello, I'm Suzanne Cross, Associate Professor at Michigan State University. My mother at 7, my auntie at 5, and my uncle at 4 were brought to this school. I could go on for hours, but I won't. I'm Martha. I am a Potawatomi Indian. My family and I came here from Hamilton, Michigan. The year is 1893. I am enrolled here at the Mount Pleasant Indian Industrial Boarding School in Mount Pleasant, Michigan. My time here is short-lived. Yet you could say I'm infamous due to my actions against the school by setting a fire in the laundry building and the main building of the school. The laundry building was saved, but not the main building of the school. The damage there was quite extensive. It was later replaced through funds by Congress. I have been asked by many how I had managed to accomplish such a desperate act. I told them I saturated rags with kerosene, lit them, and then threw them onto the upper floor. I then shut the door and ran away. My teachers and the superintendent of the school were shocked and surprised because they had considered me as one of their favorite pupils. I was informed by others that I was not remorseful for my actions. The reason why I had committed this act was because of what the school was doing to me and to others. I wanted to go home so desperately, but the superintendent of the school would not allow me to go home. So I decided that if I set fire to these buildings, maybe they would burn to the ground and they would have to return us back home. Unfortunately, this did not happen after the commotion of the fire. I was confined to a jail cell at the local police department for a day. Later, I was transferred to the State Industrial School for Girls in Adrian, Michigan. And there I will have to stay until I am 21 or until I meet the school's requirements.
It saddens me to say Martha's actions made it impossible for her to go home anytime soon. We will never know if she made it home or what even happened to her. All the records for the State Industrial School for Girls in Adrian, Michigan are forever sealed. Martha's actions of setting fire to the school were reported in the Isabella County Enterprise, the newspaper in Mount Pleasant, Michigan. 2 articles were submitted, one on July 7, 1899, and the other one was on August 4, 1899. The annual report to the Commission on Indian Affairs in 1899 mentioned briefly about the fire Martha had set and the importance of fire drills for the students attending this school. It stated, "All pupils from the smallest tot up to the largest should be taught how to march speedily, quietly, and with military precision out of their respective dormitories and rooms into the free air whenever the first signal calls them. They should be given without notice, and finally they should be told on what day the signal will be sounded, but will be expected to march out of the building as quickly as possible and in the proper military order at a moment's notice. The drills should be a regular feature of school life at least once a week or often, if possible."
Martha. There have been other acts of arson at the Mount Pleasant Industrial Indian Boarding School, which were reported in the Isabella County Enterprise. There was also an act of arson mentioned which took place at Carlisle School in Pennsylvania. Clips from news articles. January 11th, 1895, the contents of the storehouse at the Indian School burned Tuesday with a $200 or $300 loss. March 11th, 1904, school laundry burned, but not as disastrous as the other 4 years ago. The laundry building was a wooden structure. The tailor shop and the sewing room, with a spring consignment of new uniforms and materials for spring sewing, were on the upper level of the building, were lost at all of the week's wash. Total cost $5,000. December 10th, 1908, fire caught in the bakery over the Indian School last Thursday evening, and for a time it looked as though there would be a big conflagration, but the fire department over there acted promptly and efficiently and put out the blaze in a short order. The loss will not amount to over $300. One of the boys roasting coffee beans forgot one painful and, Chuck threw me off. The loss will not amount to over $300. One of the boys roasted coffee beans and forgot the pan full and returned it to the oven until almost a fire. He then poured it into a sack, caught a fire. November 13th, 1925, fire at Indian School. Fire that broke out at the midnight Saturday for a time threatened the destruction of the Indian School dairy barn. In the face of the gale, the city fire department made the run to the scene of the blaze. With the help of the school employees, got the blaze under control. The fire started in the part used as a classroom, but just not what caused the blaze has been ascertained. The water and smoke caused most of the damage. Martha, I was not alone in this act of rebellion. Other students across the country resorted to similar acts of arson, running away, or stealing. Usually these acts of defiance were done by older students. 2 Sioux girls were attending the Carlisle Indian School committed an act of arson at the school twice in one evening. It was in November, a late Sunday. These girls set fires to the papers in the reading room after dinner. The blaze was discovered, so they climbed to the top floor of the gym, the girls' dormitory, without being noticed, and set the second fire in a closet with the other students attending church service, while the other students were attending church service. Fires were detected and the girls had been caught. It was said that they had a bad school record before they attended the school. Even when they arrived at Carlisle, they were ugly and defiant, no matter how kind the staff was to them. They were arrested, went to trial. The end result was that the girls had to spend 18 months at the Eastern State Penitentiary in Philadelphia.
The next individual is a former student who attended the Mount Pleasant Indian Industrial Boarding School from April 27, 1894 through February 28, 1901.
I'm Alice Joe Ricketts. I'm Tribal Elder, Saginaw Chippewa Indian Tribe, and Tribal Council Chaplain. And I am Amelia. I am a Chippewa Indian. My family came here from Asabo in Iosco County. We later moved to Rosebush. Both of my parents are still living. I enrolled here on April 27, 1894 when I was 13 years old, and I left the school on February 28, 1901. When I was 18 years old, I left primarily because of Mr. Narden, the superintendent of the school.
A terrible incident happened between Amelia and Superintendent Narden. Amelia's friend Lucy wrote a letter home to her father about what was done to Amelia. The letter getting to her father is surprising because letters going out or coming into the school were usually screened by the superintendent of the school. The students would rarely receive letters. This was Lucy's letter.
Bonjour, Nassau Gabawik Indigenous Class. My name is Angel Jackson, and I play the part of Lucy. Dear Father, I will write another letter, no much better, but a little worse. I wish I could use the word worser. There is no such word in the dictionary. Worse will be sufficient. This is nothing about myself, but what happened in my own room. This is about my best chum, my roommate, Amelia, a young lady, 22 years old. Yesterday was Sunday, February 24th, but you want to think it was Sunday by the time you get through reading this letter. This girl works in the hospital. She is learning to be a hospital girl or nurse. She always stays in the hospital during meals, and to meals after the scholars come back. She was going to supper last evening. She was going the way we usually go when we go to our meals. Mrs. Kopp, assistant superintendent, called her back, asked her if she had permission to go to the other side. She said no. Miss Kopp told her to go to the girls' side. Amelia said, "Upshaw." It is funny. I couldn't go to that side. She thought it might be all right to go on that side because we've seen girls go on that side every day and they don't get permission. Mrs. Kopp told Amelia, took Amelia to the matron, Mrs. Eubanks, and told her what Amelia had said when she told her to go to the girls' side. Mrs. Eubanks said she would give her only 10 minutes to forgive Mrs. Kopp. She didn't say anything. She went back to the hospital. She didn't think she did anything. Then 10 minutes was up and she was called in our room. Mr. Narding and Miss Eubanks walked in our room. Mrs. Eubanks told Sarah and Amelia to go and get Amelia. Before Amelia came, I was told to leave the room, and I did. Sarah the same. Nardin asked Amelia what the trouble. She said nothing was. Nardin said, "Young lady, you be careful of what you're saying." He got a hold of her both arms, and he asked her if she would forgive Mrs. Kopp. Amelia said, "Yes, sir," and he threw her on the floor, hurt her head awfully. She was standing near the radiator when he threw her on the floor, when she struck her head on the radiator. She started to yell, and he choked her with one hand. She cried out, and he put both of his hands on her throat. He said to her, "Will you take my advice?" Of course she couldn't speak. She was just half choked. She said yes. He asked her again if she would forgive Mrs. Kopp. She said yes, and slapped her on both sides of her face. He took her downstairs to Mrs. Kopp. We couldn't sleep all night to think what happened. This girl don't go to school now on account of her head. He is superintendent. I think it's about time that I close this letter. I hope this is my last letter about Nardin. Hoping to hear from you again. Your daughter, Lucy.
An affidavit was taken from Amelia in regards to the alleged physical assault she received from Superintendent Nardin.
I, Amelia, having first been duly swore to depose and say that I am 21 years of age and live at Calkinsville, Michigan, and was a pupil in the Mount Pleasant Indian School almost 6 years and left the school about the end of last February. That I left school because I was ill-treated by the superintendent, Mr. Nardin, as follows. I was taking care of Jenny, one of the schoolgirls who was sick, on February 24th, 1901. I came down the stairs the usual way that evening to go to my supper. As I reached the last steps leading to the ground, Miss Kopp, the principal teacher, saw me and asked me if I had permission to go that way, and I answered, "Upshaw, no." She then said, "Go to the matron," which I did. Miss Kopp went along with me and told the matron, Mrs. Eubanks, what I had said. Miss Kopp went away and left me with Mrs. Eubanks, who asked me to tell Miss Kopp that I was sorry for what I had said to her. I did not reply, but went upstairs to my room. Mrs. Eubanks followed me and told me again to apologize to Miss Kopp. I did not reply. She then said she would give me 10 minutes to do so, and then went to her room. At the end of that time, she came in and asked me if I was ready to apologize to Miss Kopp, and I said no. She then went and said Mr. Nardin, or told Mr. Nardin, and then I went to the hospital. Sarah came after me and said Mr. Nardin wanted me in his room, so went there and found Mr. Nardin and Mrs. Eubank waiting for me. Mrs. Eubank did not say anything, but Mr. Nardin asked me what the trouble was. I did not answer him. He then took hold of my arms and shook me, and threw me on the floor, striking my head against the radiator. While I was on the floor, he let loose of my arms and choked me with both hands. My head hurt me for more than a week, and my throat was sore for several days. I suffered so much that I could not get up the next morning until Lucy helped me. I left the school as soon as I was able. Mrs. Eubank was the only person in the room when Mr. Narden punished me. Subscribed and sworn to before this 25th day of May 1901, Edwin L. Chalcraft, Superintendent.
Next will be the words from Mr. Narden, Superintendent of the Mount Pleasant Indian Industrial Boarding School from 1900 to 1904, Mrs. Eubank, the matron, and Edwin L. Chalcraft, Supervisor of Indian Schools, about the alleged incident of cruelty against Amelia. Chalcraft's letter went directly to the Commissioner of Indian Affairs.
I'm India Perez, and I'm reading for Mrs. Eubank, former matron. The charges of violence on the part of Mr. Narden, sworn to by Amelia on the 25th day of May, 1901, are false. I solemnly swear that the above statement is true, to the best of my knowledge and belief. Subscribed and sworn to me before on this 27th day of May, 1901, Edwin L. Chalcraft, Supervisor of Indian Schools.
Christina Otto, Indigenous Cause. I'll be reading Mr. Narden, former superintendent. Regarding the affidavit of Amelia, dated May 25th, 1901, I respectfully declare her statement charging abuse to be false, a gross misrepresentation of what took place in her room. She was required to admit her fault to Mrs. Cobb. The charge of violence is false. The same is true for Lucy. Subscribed and sworn to me before the 27th day of May 1901, Edwin L. Chalcraft, Supervisor of Indian Schools.
Bonjour, Jabononque, Indigenous Cause. My name is Guadalupe Gonzalez, and I'm reading the part for Mr. Chalcraft, former Supervisor of Indian Schools. I have the honor to report that I have investigated the charge of cruelty made against the management of the Mount Pleasant Indian School, Michigan, by Lucy. I submit here with the affidavit of Amelia in support of the charge and the affidavits of Superintendent Narden and Roma R. Eubank, matron, in defense of the superintendent's action. They are the only persons having personal knowledge of this case. In conversation with Mr. Narden and Mrs. Eubank, they admitted to me that Mr. Narden took hold of Amelia's wrist, and in attempting to release herself, she fell down of the floor screaming and made a great outcry, for which they both assert that there was no reason whatsoever. In attempting to stop this outcry, Mr. Narden put his hand over the girl's mouth for a moment. When she quit, he removed his hand. This, they both claim, is the whole of the alleged cruelty. They both deny most emphatically that the girl was choked by Mr. Narden or was injured by falling as charged. While there was no cruelty, Mr. Narden was certainly at fault and subject to censure for taking hold of Miss Amelia, who is a well-appearing young woman, 21 years of age, and capable of being reasoned with in an intelligent manner. He should adopt other and more proper methods in dealing with similar cases in the future.
I would like to express my deepest gratitude to my friends Jenny, Lucy, and Sarah for coming here and bravely assisting me in getting the story of this assault out to others who will listen and assist me in dealing with my fear and confronting those who had done me wrong. Mr. Chalcraft never fully investigated the incident. He just accepted the words of Mr. Narden, the superintendent of the school. He never interviewed my roommates Lucy and Sarah on what they saw about this incident. The school doctor was not even interviewed in regards to my emotional and physical well-being after this assault. Due to Mr. Chalcraft's oversight about this incident, I had been called a liar and all my allegations against Mr. Narden were considered false. I'm still upset at the school staff and administration. I'm very fearful of Mr. Narden. I felt the only way to remedy this situation was to leave the school immediately. 3 years later, I had passed a day after my favorite holiday, Christmas. I died on December 26, 1904. My death resulted in consumption of the lungs. I believe the betrayal of Mr. Narden and the school staff contributed in a part to my death. I have no headstone to show where my final resting place is. Records show that I was laid to rest in a cemetery in Isabella Township, which could be the Woodland or Nipissing Cemetery in Rosebush, Michigan.
Since these are stories of the past involving students who attended the Mount Pleasant Indian Industrial Boarding School, I feel a brief history of Edwin L. Chalcraft and Mr. Narden should also be included. What will be said about these individuals are quite frankly words coming directly from Chalcraft. Author Gary C. Collins was able to go through Chalcraft's personal archival records and other records to compile the book Assimilation's Agent, My Life as a Superintendent in the Indian Boarding School System. At this time, I would like to invite Mr. Tibbles, a writer from the Omaha Herald, to give his version of what an Indian agent is. Mr. Tibble tried to make sense of the rationalization of these agents, especially Chalcraft and Narden.
Kevin Chamberlain, Tijnakas, Karnakas, Michigan, Donjibao, Shikendo, Ogma, Banase, and Dow. Casting an Indian agent who was a universal type, someone who is an unprincipled opportunist who represents everything sinister in the machinations of the hated Indian ring. They are an absolute monarch who can practice any type of cruelty because there is no appeal as long as he is in favor with the Secretary of Interior. Absolute unquestioning obedience to his orders is the only safety for either white man or Indian in the limits of his dominions. There is no court or jury. They breed his subjects to his control. When he has become accustomed to that, and the slightest interference with his wishes throws him into a rage.
We will now hear from some others who speak of Chalcraft's character.
Bonjour, was another Ukrainian English class. My name is Kelly, reading Old Cherokee. I'm from Chehalis Indian. Indian Reservation. I speak to you about Mr. Chalcraft, who taught about the Chehalis Indian School in 1883 to 1889, and about his actions against the Indian students using corporal punishment. I want you to know, and all we Indians want you, a man from Washington, and you, Mr. Elis, or agent, to know what kind of man we have here for a teacher. Do you think the great father at Washington wants us to have a man here who whips and beats children until the floor is bloody red? Is that the kind of man you want us to have here?
Bonjour. Felicia Otto Nadezhnikows, and I'll be reading the part of Alfred Livesley. I am a former industrial teacher, and my wife is a former matron who worked at Chehalis. In June 1888, my wife and I charged Chalcraft with starving Indian children who attended the school. He would tighten up on their rations just to make him look good for the Indian services. Childcraft wanted to operate as cheaply and more efficient than the Paiute boarding school and any other Indian boarding schools. The hash was fouled and smelled beyond belief. It was a constant staple for breakfast for about 18 months. This hash was unfit for anyone to eat, whether human or animal. This contains potatoes, whatever meat, fish was available for hash. Obviously, the children had no choice but to eat this concoction or go hungry. Sometimes they would eat it out of the trash. At times, the other children would go to my wife for anything to eat.
Henry Sakan. I'm a Puyallup tribal member. In 1927, I had written a brief history on the Puyallup Indian School. It seems during the late 19th century, corporal punishment, it was the norm for those who were in charge of Indian schools. The old cruel system of beating boys and girls with clubs and whips again came into vogue and flourished until their parents stepped in with their lawyers.
Hello everyone, my name is Nagizi Wamigwantz and I'm going to be reading Commissioner Valentine. Childcraft was a supervisor at Chippewa Indian School from 1904 through 1912. An incident took place in October 1910 where 13 female students climbed out of McBride Hall window and walked about half a mile off campus. Earlier, they had asked a matron to accommodate them for a walk, but she refused them, so they went alone. Girls ages 14 through 21 were going to visit some of the local boys in the area. When they came back, Childcraft had decided to whip them, even though administrating any form of corporal punishment was banned in the Indian schools. Next, he ordered the ringleaders to whip their girlfriends until they cried. After the whippings, he left the door of McBride Hall open all night. He told the girls if they wanted to leave, they could, because there were other girls who would replace them. Only 3 girls left. Childcraft's behavior had reached the Indian office in Washington, D.C. Accounts of the whipping and graphic descriptions of open wounds and bloodstained clothes require immediate action against Childcraft, who had violated regulations of Indian services. It was March 1911 he was charged with both superintendent and student administrated whippings and student immorality. He was given 3 days to justify his actions or face removal.
Discipline was a big factor at the other boarding schools. At Chehalis and Puyallup, corporal punishment was strictly enforced and there was no question on challenging Childcraft's authority. Chippewa had a jail and it was known as the guardhouse. Any type of wrongdoing by an Indian student would send them there regardless of age. Some of the offenses may have included disobeying, resisting a teacher, speaking their language, being caught smoking, running away, and insubordination against a school official. 2 males were whipped for being down in the basement with some girls. We will now hear from Childcraft.
In maintaining discipline, sometimes you need to overstep the rules. You need to conquer or dismiss a student, even if it meant expulsion. There were 3 incidents of illicit intercourse between some students during the 1910-1911. I had to take some actions, such as screening windows, installing door locks, and hiring a night watchman. I personally kept a close watch on girls and chaperoned them to and from school or any places where boys may have been around.
A decision was made by Narden, who at the time was the superintendent of the Wind River School, located on the Shoshone Agency in Wyoming, resulting in 2 boys running away from the school and dying. The boys found out that their mother was sick and they wanted to see her. Narden refused their request for a chaperone visit. Chalcraft was charged to investigate these deaths.
I arrived at the Shoshone Agency on June 29, 1889, to begin my investigation at the Wind River School. I began by taking testimony of school employees, school police, and the boys' parents, 2 sisters, and a brother-in-law. James Calhoun, the boy's father, who was a white man, 60 years old, and legally married to a Shoshone Indian and Indian agent Nickerson, wanted the boys' bodies disinterred for a further examination to see if they had sustained any other injuries. Later, Dr. Welty and Agent Nickerson's testimony was taken.
Ushu, Gibaga, Baishu, okay. Susan Hinman Johnson, and I'm playing James Calhoun. It was April 18th when 2 school policemen arrived at my home, asking for my 2 sons, James and Humphrey. The school believed the boys were home. I believed my sons, James and Humphrey, were at school. Immediately, a search began. After the police told more of the day, they disappeared. The school policemen told me they ran away on the 7th of April around 10 p.m. A snowstorm had blanketed the area with heavy amounts of snow. The temperature for the next few days were around 0 degrees Celsius, making it impossible for these boys to make the 30-mile journey home. The search results in finding my dead sons huddled together as if they were trying to keep each other warm. They were only 3 miles from home. I blame no one for my son's death except for Superintendent Narden, who was capable to have someone go look for them in a timely manner, and the school police are stationed there at the school at all times.
I have written to Commissioner Jones stating that James and Humphrey had died of exposure due to the weather conditions. They ran away to see their mother because she was sick. I believe without a doubt Superintendent Narden was responsible for their deaths because he had not taken the necessary steps to search for them. After this incident, he was then transferred to the Mount Pleasant Indian Industrial Boarding School. When I had arrived at the Mount Pleasant Indian Industrial Boarding School, Narden was persistent to see how a new dress was properly fitted for a girl who was going to wear that dress. The girls were brought to him for inspection and approval. He was so consumed with these girls that he had failed to notice a new large building which was built under his watch, which was about 15 feet out of the line of the other buildings. These buildings matched with the other buildings. All the heating and ventilating outlets were omitted from one of the main buildings, and there were other defects as well. I needed to call him on his oversight. Lastly, I had made a report on a school visit here at the Mount Pleasant Indian Industrial Boarding School on May 27, 1901. The only comment I would like to make is my concern about a school employee, a baker named William. On May 22nd, he enticed one of the schoolgirls into his room in the bakery and had illicit intercourse with her and was caught by another pupil in the act. Superintendent Narden has William's resignation.
Regardless of how it came to be, Chalcraft and Narden, they should have never been allowed to work with children. Not one of the alleged incidents committed by Narden was ever published in our local newspaper or even mentioned in the superintendent's monthly report. The incident that happened at Wind River School, located on the Shoshone Indian Reservation, resulted in an immediate transfer to the Mount Pleasant Indian Industrial Boarding School. Superintendent Narden's involvement in my incident should have resulted in termination of his employment with the Indian Service. Years later, there were numerous articles that mentioned his wrongdoings in overseeing Indian children. My experience is just one of many.
I'm going to tell you a story of a little one. Her name was Alice, and her parents were Jacob and Anna. Jacob and Anna were students here at the Mount Pleasant Indian Industrial Boarding School. Baby Alice was born on July 17th, 1912, and she passed away on July 13th, 1914. Alice's parents were unable to provide her with any adequate medical care when she became sick, even though at times she would stay at the school. Alice died of arsenic and phosphorus poisoning. A death like this is horrendous for an adult, so imagine what it would have been like for baby Alice. She would have experienced intense abdominal and throat pain, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, and dehydration. An odor of garlic would have been on her breath. Yet questions remain on how a baby so young would have been able to access the poison to cause her death. Alice's death is considered controversial because her tragic death is still a mystery. Was she, too, another victim of the Mount Pleasant Industrial Indian Boarding School? Was she given a proper burial? Baby Alice's burial site is unknown. I have been here most of the time since 1896. Andrew Spencer was superintendent then. He left around 1900, and then Mr. Narden was here about 5 years. And then came Robert Cochran, who remained in charge for 20 years. Ora Paget came next, followed by L.E. Baumgarten, and 2 years ago, Mr. Christie. I have seen many things here since I came to work as a boy of 17. In those first years, the Indians were almost never willing to let the children leave home just for education. They thought it was well enough to work with their hands and that education was unnecessary. I used to go get the children, and it was hard getting them to consent to my taking them. When the war came and went, the Indians found it hard to get work unless one had an education. There was not enough work for them, so they have been begging us to take their children, to educate them and feed them. I left for a brief moment in September 16, 1904. I left the school because I got employment at a rainy day boarding school in Oklahoma as an industrial engineer teacher. The school, located on the Kiowa, Comanche, and Apache reservation, had an enrollment of 130 students. School years were from 1893 through 1920. The courses offered to the females were domestic, and the males' classes were agricultural and industrial. Any students who wanted to further their education could attend Carlisle or Phoenix. The Rainy Mountain School closed in 1920 because the school had fallen into a state of disrepair due to the government cutting back on federal Indian education programs. Longing to be home, I returned to Mount Pleasant once again to seek employment at the Mount Pleasant Indian Industrial Boarding School. I was given a position as an industrial engineer teacher and later as a disciplinarian under the jurisdiction of Superintendent Cochran. In 1911, Nellie came here from Harbor Springs, and she graduated in 1915. The day after she graduated from school, she became my wife. Our wedding ceremony was held at the school. The ceremony itself was quite small. The school band provided music, which was the entertainment for our guests. We were able to live in one of the apartments located on the school property. Nellie and I had 4 children, Elsie, Betty, William, and Bernard. My 2 older children went to the Indian school in Flandreau, South Dakota, while the younger ones stayed with us. On moving day, my family and I assisted in the process of moving out of the school buildings, assisting those who were to move into the school and obviously moving us to our new home, which is less than 1/2 mile from the school. When the school closed, I got a job at the Gase Building, a baking company, and it was difficult for me to work there because I still miss working at the school. At the age of 66 years old, I passed on February 18th, 1945. The cause of my death was cerebral hemorrhage. My eternal resting place is located in the same local cemetery where hopefully some of the Indian children who had died at the Indian boarding school were buried. My pension from the school did not pay for the cost of a headstone to mark my final resting place.
It's me, Amelia, and I have a few more things to say. After the school closed its doors to 45 students and staff, it was transferred from the federal government to the state of Michigan for institutional purposes. According to official federal documents, the establishment of the school in 1893 and its closing in 1934 were the results of shifts in federal policy changes in education, philosophy, and changes in the U.S. economy. The name changed to the Mount Pleasant branch of the Michigan Home and Training School. The purpose of this institution was to house and train mentally handicapped young men who were abandoned or were juvenile criminals. The campus in later years became the Mount Pleasant Center. In 1987, the original Mount Pleasant Indian Industrial Boarding School Chapel and Indian Cemetery were designated as state historical landmarks in 1987 by the State of Michigan Historical Commission. The State of Michigan made the decision to close the facility in 2008 due to budget cuts and the dwindling number of patients. The land was sold to the city of Mount Pleasant and the Saginaw Chippewa Indian Tribe of Michigan for $1 each. Research so far has discovered that 207 students died at this school from accidents, physical or emotional abuse, being overworked, underfed, depression, homesickness, or having untreated diseases. These deaths were undocumented. More research needs to continue by searching cemetery records, old documents, or any other historical resources to find vital information about where all these children were buried. While the night is beginning to consume the day, dusk here creates an eerie vibe from the buildings that remain. Buildings that are ravished by blight, weather, and the malicious actions of vandals and thieves. It is just mobs and me as we stand by the familiar flagpole in the courtyard. We try to remember the nighttime schedule and finishing another school day. We can almost hear taps being played off in the distance. We see the lights in the buildings being quickly turned off one by one. It is time for us to go. Miigwech for listening to us, all of us. We hope you continue to listen. We hope you share our stories. We hope you educate others. We hope you share the truth. Only then can this country, in full truth and reconciliation, move forward to diminish the dark history of the American Indian boarding school era. Miigwech.
Thank you to all of our readers for bringing the voices of the boarding school survivors to life. And another big thank you to Ruby, Anita, and Robin for all of their research to put this story together. How about a round of applause for all of them? Next, I would like to introduce our next speaker, Lacey Kennart. She will continue the conversation on boarding schools and the healing that is still going on today. Lacey Kennart. She is a Mukwe Odekwe, bare-hearted woman who is an enrolled citizen of the Sault Ste. Marie tribe of Chippewa Indians. Lacey has worked for NABS for over 3 years and currently serves as the co-director of the Oral History program. Lacey has worked as an office administrator and academic advisor in Indigenous education in Michigan and Wisconsin for 15 years, as well as an administrator for the Indian Health Service facility in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. She was a member and chairperson for the Milwaukee Indian Education Committee for several years. Lacey grew up in the land of the Anishinaabe in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. She graduated from Northern Michigan University and Bay College with a degree in business. Lacey descends from several boarding school survivors who survived Holy Childhood of Jesus School in Michigan, Mount Pleasant Industrial Indian School in Michigan, Flandreau Indian School in South Dakota, and Carlisle Indian Industrial School in Pennsylvania. She does this work for her family's honor, especially her gram, Donna Faye Hardwick Ballinger. Lacey serves on the board of directors at the Great North Innocence Project and is extremely passionate about the advocating for those wrongly convicted as she helped free and exonerate her partner, Danny Wilbur, from a life sentence. Ladies and gentlemen, Lacey Kennard.
Bonjour. Hi, I see so many people here that I haven't had a chance to talk with yet. But I know we just had lunch, so if we want to stand and stretch and not take a nap, I'm okay with that too. I'm like, oh great, after lunchtime you guys are going to be sleeping, but if you want to stretch, stand, walk around, that's fine. Buju, Makodeko, Indigenous Makwadodam, Escanaba, in Minnesota, Makoche, and Dochbia, Anishinaabe, and Dow. My name is Lacey Kennard, Bear-Hearted Woman, Bear Clan, and I'm from Escanaba, but I live in Minneapolis now. And I'm an enrolled citizen of the Sioux tribe. Like she said, I've been with NABS now for 3 years, and I'm, as of this week, the co-director of the Oral History program. I stand here today not just as an individual and representative of NABS, but as the descendant of survivors, one of them being my gram, Donna Faye Hardwick Ballinger, who was sent to Holy Childhood boarding school in the 40s and 50s. I just learned about an hour ago that all of her siblings attended Mount Pleasant Indian Industrial Boarding School. It's an honor to be here on the 91st anniversary of this institution's closing. I want to begin by acknowledging the land that we're on, the land of the Anishinaabe and the Saginaw Chippewa Indian tribe, and honoring the ancestors whose footsteps are still etched into this earth, and the children who walked here at this school. I also want to acknowledge all of you, the survivors of the institutions, the descendants, the family, knowledge keepers, allies, and those who are carrying not just your own stories, but the stories of those who could never speak them. Special thanks to Marcella and Willie and the Zebubing Center for the continued support of NABS and the partnership on working together on the archives. For me today, this is not just a speech or presentation, this is a ceremony of honoring, healing, and remembering. We're gathered here today to talk about something that impacts every Native person and what many of us carry, the wounds of intergenerational trauma and the medicine we are reclaiming. But before we get into that some more, I want to share about NABS and just give a little update on what we've been up to. Did it go to the next slide? Okay, cool. So NABS is the National Native American Boarding School Healing Coalition. We have a very long name, so we go by NABS. We are leading the truth, justice, and healing movement at the federal level in the United States, and we do so by honoring cultural sovereignty, supporting unique cultural protocols, and inviting institutions into relational responsibility. We started in 2012 with just 1 employee, and now we're at 27 employees. We do that through our 5 main program areas. The first one here is policy and advocacy. where we have a bill in front of the federal Congress to create a Truth and Healing Commission. We've been working on it diligently for 4 years. Even in this political climate, we are still working hard and still advocating and still lobbying. And in fact, our CEO is in DC right now on the Hill. The bill on the Senate side is Bill S-761. It has passed the Senate Committee of Indian Affairs. And we are still committed on getting it reintroduced on the House side. That is a little bit more difficult, but we are still committed. For more information on the bill, you can see our website. Then our next program area is Digital Archives, where we have our online National Indian Boarding School Digital Archive, also known as NIBSDA, which, by the way, we update regularly. So a lot of you I know already look at it. Continue to visit and look at it, because there's information continuously being uploaded. Then we have the oral history program, where I help lead that, where we're traveling to 20 different states. And this month we will be at our 13th stop, which will be in Wisconsin. We have our Indigenous Mindfulness program, where we host webinars, healing circles, and are implementing new healing art projects. And our last program is Research and Education, where we continue to do research on our current list of schools to build profiles, as well as research potential new schools. We have also created K-12 curriculum that has been downloaded more than 9,000 times. And we deliver consistently guest presentations in effort to educate the general public on Indian boarding school history. Here you'll see our most updated list of 526 schools. I know it's a very small screen and it's a very big list, so sometimes when you print it you need a magnifying glass, but it's 526 schools. That's what we're at. The government, they released their report with 418, but ours is more inclusive, where it includes federally supported and non-federally supported schools. And fun fact, the government got their information from us, because we asked them for a list and they had no idea where to even begin. Okay, next slide. In Michigan, we were here last September, where we interviewed several of the survivors that are here today. It was our 6th stop back in September, and we interviewed 29 survivors, it's our record for the most in a stop. It was after Michigan's stop that we actually learned that 29 is way too many. So we had to reevaluate, and now we do 24 at each site location. But Michigan on our list has 8 Indian boarding schools, and Mount Pleasant being one of them. On this oral history project tour, so far we have sat and listened to 208 survivors share their experiences with us. We have sat knee to knee with survivors of one of this nation's most concealed atrocities, the Indian boarding school system. In their eyes, we have seen centuries collapse into moments. In their voices, we have heard the echoes of children taken, languages silenced, ceremonies outlawed, and identities fractured. These stories are not relics of a distant past. They are living testaments passed down through scar tissue and silence, inscribed in bodies and breath. They demand not only to be heard, but also be felt, honored, and transform the very ground we stand on. When we talk about Indian boarding schools, we're not just talking about something in the past, we're talking about something that continues to live on in our families, our bodies, and our silence. Mount Pleasant Indian Industrial Boarding School and Holy Childhood were just 2 of these schools. My grandma was taken to Holy Childhood, and she never spoke much about it. And when she did, it was 3 things that she shared, but it was in that she ran away. She shared just enough to understand the pain, but not enough to know the full story. But now, as working at NAVS, I know that was her way of protecting herself and protecting us. and I know now that she attended between 3 to 6 school years and that she did not run away. But I remember something clearly. I begged her to teach me our language. I asked her over and over, and each time she refused. And me and my grandma were like this. Like, I was her favorite. So if anybody was going to get it out of her, it was me. And she still didn't. But I asked her over and over, and she refused. Not harshly, but with some heavy in her voice. A sadness that I couldn't understand at the time. She'd just say no, and I'd say, why not? And I'd be like, not even the swear words, I'd say. And no, she would say. And she'd just say she didn't remember. She didn't remember much. Only later did I understand that it wasn't because she didn't want me to know, it was because she was taught in that institution that our language was dangerous, that it was punishable, that it would have gotten you beaten, silenced, humiliated, and that she had learned through violence to fear the very thing that could have brought her healing.
I talked to Ray.
That fear got passed down not through words, but through absence, through silence, through the missing songs, the missing stories, and the ceremonies we never had together. Intergenerational and historical trauma is not just what was done, but what was taken, what was withheld, what we never got to receive. A quiet ache travels across generations in many indigenous communities. A grief encoded not only in memory, but in physiology, breath, and the silences between words. This phenomenon, widely known as intergenerational trauma, is not merely a historical echo, but a persistent and embodied legacy of unacknowledged harm. Intergenerational trauma is not just emotional pain, it's a spiritual wound. It's in the way we sometimes struggle to connect, even with the people that we love most. It's in the parenting patterns passed down from those who were never parented with love or gentleness. It's in the addiction, the numbness, the detachment, survival strategies inherited from those who had to survive systems that tried to erase them. When a child is taken from their home and told that everything about them is wrong, their hair, their skin, their language, their prayers, that child grows up not knowing how to belong. And that pain doesn't end when that child grows up, it just travels. It gets passed on, sometimes in ways we can't even name until we're grown and hurting and wondering why. When trauma is neither acknowledged nor healed, it does not disappear. It embeds itself in physical and emotional memory, shaping generational identities and relationships. Indigenous scholars and knowledge holders have long emphasized that the trauma endured in boarding schools was not confined to those institutional walls. Instead, it reverberates across time, disrupting familial structures, cultural continuity, and communal health. The experiences of survivors frequently include institutional distrust, chronic grief, and persuasive silence, symptoms that are often rooted in both psychological memory and cellular biology. It manifests not only as a memory of violence, but as the inheritance of survival adaptations, silence, shame, hypervigilance, dissociation, and grief without language. Children raised within these conditions often internalize a sense of disconnection from themselves, their families, and their cultural foundations without a clear understanding of its source. This legacy is not simply a matter of historical record, it's an active inheritance. It is carried in bloodlines and felt in the broken relational bridges between parents and children, grandparents and grandchildren, in the absence of lullabies, ceremonies once outlawed, and it persists in the loss of language, forced displacement, and the severing of land-based connections and teachings, all of which we are still going through today. However, within this weight lies a profound wisdom. Naming the trauma, witnessing the stories, and holding space for truth-telling without flinching begins to interrupt the transmission. These acts of remembrance are not passive. they are transformative. Today is transformative. You do this every year on this day is transformative. In honoring survivor narratives through oral history, in looking at archives, in learning about the truths of what happened to our relatives, we engage in the sacred process of restoring what was taken. We remember ourselves back into wholeness. But let me say this, what happened to our ancestors was never their fault. What we inherited because of it, that pain, that silence, is not our shame to carry. How our survivors parented their children was greatly impacted by how they were treated, neglected, and abused as children in these institutions. We are not broken, we are wounded, and wounds can be healed. Healing from this kind of pain is not quick. This policy era was over 150 years. We're not going to heal overnight. Healing from this pain is not quick and it's not linear. It's messy, it's layered, and it looks different for each of us. For me, healing has looked like asking questions to put all the pieces of the puzzle together, even when those answers were painful, even when those answers never came. It looked like learning pieces of the language and teachings that my gram couldn't pass down to me. It's doing this exact work with Nabs to help bring truth, justice, and healing in her honor, in being brave and not being silent. Our culture is healing. Our culture is preventative. Healing can be found in ceremony, in community, in connecting with the land, in learning our medicines. Healing can be found in art, in laughter, in tears, in therapy, in parenting differently, in saying I love you when maybe you were raised without those words. It's about indigenizing colonial frameworks, and it's about disrupting the system. Our generation, that's what we're about, disrupting some systems. Some of us heal by talking, some of us heal by dancing, some by creating, by organizing, by showing up for our people, and all of it matters. Healing comes from no longer oppressing our identity, by not suppressing our emotions, like every survivor was taught in boarding school, to never show your emotions. For us to cry is healing. To let our feelings and our emotions flow is healing. And it's about self-care and learning that it's okay and necessary to take care of ourselves. Healing is also about remembrance. It's about saying the names of the ones who never came home from those schools, and the ones that did come back home but were never the same. It's about honoring our elders, our survivors, while they're still here, and giving them back what they were denied: love, dignity, and the right to be native. And it's about realizing they're like, yeah, and it's about realizing that it wasn't their fault, and it's not our fault. They tried to take our language, our songs, our kinship systems, but they failed because we're still here. Every time one of us picks up a word in our language or have a ceremony, we undo a bit of that harm. Every time we dance in regalia, wear ribbon skirts, put our hair in braids, speak our names with pride, show our kids how to smudge and harvest medicines, we are reclaiming what was never truly lost, only stolen and buried and covered, but never destroyed. My grandma may have not taught me the language, but I carry her spirit in the way I try to reclaim it. I carry her in the prayers I say, and I know she's with me every time I use my voice to speak truth. Because our healing is also our ancestors' healing, our reclaiming is their liberation too. We are here today because we carry both pain and power. The pain of what was done to our families and the power of what we are doing now together. We must keep telling the truth, keep listening, Keep creating spaces where survivors, descendants, and community can gather, grieve, and grow. We need to build communities that are rooted in love, accountability, and care. And we need to raise our children with pride, not shame. Let them know who they are. Let them dance. Let them speak their languages without fear. And let them know that they come from medicine, not just trauma. Because healing is not just for us. It's for the ones coming after us. So to the survivors like my Gram, we honor you. We do this work as NAVs for you. We see what you carried and still carry. We see what you protected, even if you couldn't pass it on in words. You endured what no child should ever have to endure, and we thank you for your survival. To the descendants, like me and maybe like you, we are the living prayers of our ancestors, and we are the answer to their cries. We are the ones who get to choose a different way forward. The trauma was passed down intergenerationally, historically, and epigenetically, but so was their strength, wisdom, courage, and bravery. We are still here and we are healing. Chimigwech, thank you for inviting me to be here and sharing these words with me. I'm very grateful. That's it, but here's a code for if you are not a coalition member, please join. It's free, and you can join the movement for truth, justice, and healing. If you have any questions, I'll be around. Miigwech.
Chippewa Lacey, thank you very much. And on behalf of the MIDS Committee, we'd like to gift you for your presentation here today, for all the great work that you're doing on behalf of all of Indian country, specifically in this work. It means a lot, and you can see the passion that she has. So one more time, please help me welcome and thank Lacey for being here on the Saginaw Chippewa Tribe for honoring, healing, and remembering. All right, so as we know, we've had some powerful speakers here, and I know the content's heavy, but it's meaningful. And we appreciate each and every one of you staying here, giving us the opportunity and time to help share this message. Some bad news for folks that may have not got their last bid in on time. The silent auction did close at 3 p.m. So we want to say Chimigwech to everyone that did participate, helping us raise funds for this important cause. We will have those announcements. You can check in with the team shortly here when they wrap everything up. It is cash or check only. If there isn't any cash, we got a bank right across the street over there, so you can hit the ATM or the gas station here to take care of yours. But thank you so much for supporting. Our 50-50 will be drawn after our last speaker, and that total is going, some lucky winner today is going home with $522.50 today. So we will draw that shortly. I would like to take the opportunity to also remind everyone that our women in Quay have been putting together a cedar arena. And we ask that you do not walk through that, as we'll transition from here to the arena in just a little bit after our last speaker. So we want to make sure that nobody walks through the arena, that you are respectful, and that you go around the arena here this afternoon. One more round of applause. I'd like to thank Alicia Raphael. Great job today, Alicia. Thank you for helping co-MC our event. You did a fantastic job. We also want to make sure, one second here. That's very important. Somebody lost their tickets. So, if you genuinely lost your tickets, I will release them to you. If not, we're going to donate it back to the MIBS Committee for all the hard work that they've done if they are not claimed. So, Chimigwech, and thank you for that. As we prepare for our next speakers, I have the opportunity and privilege to welcome up another one of our young leadership apprentices. Kyla Henry, just a recent graduate from Mount Pleasant High School, has come on and started in the public relations team as a summer youth worker. She did such a fantastic job. She continued that work experience with a high school co-op position, and she's been working with the public relations team through her final senior year. Now she is continuing her higher education to Central Michigan University and is going to start her undergrad degree, and she'll continue as a leadership apprentice. It is my privilege to welcome Kyla Henry to co-MC this event here this afternoon. Please, everyone, welcome Kyla Henry.
Thank you, Eric. I now have the pleasure of introducing our next speakers, Shannon Martin and Melissa Isaac. Shannon Martin from the Lees clan is an active citizen throughout Indian country. Since birth, she has participated in ancestral reparations ceremonies, powwows, treaty demonstrations, and other cultural and language events. She is the executive director and founder of the Cultural Pathway Groups LLC, a company that supports cultural activation and preservation incentives and NAGPRA repatriation of efficiency. Her clients include Elbowing College, Braiding Pictures and Common Pictures, along with many more clientele. Shannon is also the former director of the Zebuing Center and dedicated over 19 years to the award-winning Tribal Museum. She has also participated on many national boards and currently serves on the board for the First People's Fund. Shannon was also awarded the Guardians of Culture and Lifeway International Leadership Award in 2018 and recognized as the Ford Foundation Fellow in 2006 at a gala in Washington, D.C. Our next speaker, Melissa Isaac, is an Anishinaabe educator from Mount Pleasant, Michigan, and an enrolled member of the Saginaw Chippewa Indian tribe. She's currently serving as the Gizwashud Protector of the Young for the Michigan Department of Education's Indigenous Education Initiative, where she works to enhance educational outcomes for Native American students statewide. Previously, she served as the Director of Education for the Saginaw Chippewa Indian Tribe and taught at the Saginaw Chippewa Academy. Please help me in welcoming Shannon Martin and Melissa Isaac.
All right, Uju and Inaway Magana, Wabzi Plain Nijnakas, Name Donam, Saginaw Chippewa Keenan Donjaba, Gijwasad and Nonanshe. Hello, relatives. I see grandmas, grandpas, aunties, uncles, brothers, sisters, nieces, nephews, and I also see allies out in the crowd today. And y'all have been sitting a long time, so do you maybe want to stretch your arms or like stand up and sit down? And that's not the exit cue. But I've noticed today's been great weather, and we started at the sunrise ceremony, and it's a beautiful day for healing. And we have our medicines here, we have elders here, we have our songs, ceremony, and really that's the thing that's going to bring us toward healing. So what I'm here to talk about today is first make an introduction of myself, because there's a lot of people that do know me, but there's also a lot of people that don't know me. And I think relationship is important in everything we do as Anishinaabe people. My family and ancestors are indigenous to what we now know as North America. The southern part of my family currently resides in what we now know as Texas. My dad is Juan Montoya. He was born in Mexico. My abuelo, Inez Montoya, was born in Texas. My abuela was born in Viesca, Coahuila, Mexico. So my ancestors on that side of my family are Coahuilectan, and I'm learning about that. The northern part of my family currently resides in what we now know as Michigan, the land that we're on right now. My mom is Faith Carmona Pigo. Hey Mom, shout out. There she is. My Mishomis is James Buddy Pigo. His mother, my Chinokomis, Lenora Ann Pelcher, attended both Mibbs and Carlisle. Her son, Henry Pelcher, also attended Mibbs and passed away here. Her brother, Ulysses Pelcher, attended Mibbs. He passed away here as well. Her sister, my Chinokomis, Lenora, her sister, Mary Pelcher, passed away here. And if you think about her life, her son, her brother, and her sister lost their lives here. And so we are directly impacted all of us are directly impacted in some way about the things that happen here. That's just my grandma, or my grandpa's side. My Nokomis is Grace Evelyn Pico. Her maiden name is Rapp. Her mother, Amelia Rapp. Her maiden name is Pontiac. My Chinokomis, Amelia, attended MIBS, as did her numerous siblings. There were 10 of them. And so that side of my family is also deeply entwined with this school. So I'm here to share a responsibility that I have been given along with the relatives that I'm going to call up here momentarily. Technology. We just want to say miigwech to the grassroots efforts that allowed us to do the work that we're doing today. Community members, including boarding school survivors, who initiated this effort to change the law to require teaching of our history in our Michigan K-12 public school system. Right now, it is law that educators teach about the Holocaust and the Armenian genocide, but they don't have to teach about the genocide that happened here on our own land. And so those relatives worked with former Senator Wayne Schmidt, who's a Republican, who's termed out, who served Grand Traverse, Antrim, Charlevoix, Emmett, Sheboygan, Mackinac, Chippewa, and Luce County. They worked with him, but he kind of figured he knew the political landscape. And so he was the Senate Appropriations Chair at the time, and he thought, since this is probably not going to go anywhere, I'm going to secure funds as the Appropriations Chair. That's the Junia Nene. That's the money guy for the appropriations, Senate Appropriations. And so you can see the appropriation language right there. I'm not going to read it to you. But what it says is that it secures funds for the Michigan Department of Education, where I work, and the Confederation of Michigan Tribal Education Departments, so our tribal ed departments, with $750,000 to develop, the verbs are up there, I'm sorry y'all, but to do this work for our K-12 public schools. This is historical because appropriations, to our knowledge, have never directly named any tribe or tribal groups to do work like this. And so the MDE budget has been reappropriated for 3 segments now. We've received this money 3 times. And that is signed and supported, well, it's supported by the state legislature and signed by the governor. And so because of those 2 bodies, we've been able to secure funds to continue to work on this project. And we're hoping it continues. So there are things that we've been working on for the last 3 years, and I'm going to tell you what they are. We have developed with the community essential understandings for Michigan, meaning what is the 101, the very foundational thing that every citizen in Michigan should know about the first peoples of this land. And so we've developed that. We're getting ready to release it very soon. The other thing that we worked on were Anishinaabe learning principles. And what those do is it's how we learn, it's how our students learn as Anishinaabe people. Because we learn differently, in addition to what they teach us now. So we've developed those to help teachers and guide them in how to teach us appropriately. We also developed what we are calling Babinskamat, which is how Anishinaabe people teach, learn, and experience the world. This is developed through our point of view, not the point of view of somebody who's non-Indigenous, non-Anishinaabe, who has a degree in Indian studies or whatever, Native studies. This is our stories by our people for non-Native teachers who are in the public school system. We also are working on a series of vidcasts. So instead of just podcasts where you listen, you're actually going to see your relatives on there talking about issues that are important to us that we feel like the public school educators should know about. We're also working on a literature series of all Indigenous authored books that teachers can use in their classroom libraries, along with a study guide. These are the questions you ask. These are the things that, the topics and the issues that are relevant to Indigenous people. And then another thing that we're working on is lesson plans written by us for all teachers, and these are by Anishinaabe educators. And so we have our first batch. There will be 15 of them ready for educator use to go into the classroom. This will all be housed for access by everybody because we're currently in the planning phases of developing a website. So at this website, we'll have all of these resources that people can access. Because after we launch this, there won't be any more excuses on, I can't teach what I don't know. Because we hear that often. Here's a resource. Now you have to teach because you do know. So that's their responsibility. We're working on professional development modules that are online. Has anybody ever taken like bloodborne pathogens or something? It's going to be housed online that way because we know that we can't go and do training for every single educator in the state. We have to be able to reach them somehow. And so that's what those modules are going to be about. So I'm going to now call up our team because they're here. And if you heard Eric earlier in the back, we were under the black canopy with the bumblebee, and we kind of hosted a hospitality tent. And that's there's a purpose for that. And we have a whole team of individuals who are helping work.
I didn't really like this last one.
So where's the team at? I gave them warning. To my left. Come on in, y'all. Auntie said. We think it's very important that you see that these are your nieces, these are your nephews, these are your cousins, these are our relatives working on this project. These are our experts from our communities. All right, I don't know what order they're in, but on my paper, so I won't forget anybody, we have Nathan Isaac. Is Nathan over there? There's Nathan. We have Jordan Shananaquit. There's Jordan. Aaron Chivas. We have Tana Hoffman. Tana's waving. Not present today, James Bud Day is also helping with this project. Mike Medewis. There's Mike. Larry Kimawan. There's Larry. Not present today, Michelle Sims. We have Shannon Martin. And we also have our adopted Anishinaabe relative, Lynn LaPointe. Our Sioux relative who's helping with this project. Allies in the work, non-Indigenous, but helping us do this are Jennifer LaPointe and Kriya Gaillard. And then we have artists that we've collaborated with who are working on the art. So not present today, Mark Wilson from GTB, Summer Peters, Faith Carmona Pigo, Ileana Montoya, who isn't here, and Devin McKeever, who I believe is also from GTB. So if you recognized at least one of those names, I want to hear you give them a round of applause. I'm going to have, you guys can stay there or you can have a seat in the front row. Everything can. Yeah. All right, so I'm going to hand it over to Shannon Martin to talk about our approach and why we're doing things this way. So, Shannon.
Oh, when I bujut, and the way the money duk, Nango Quen Dish Nikas Biju and do them. Machi Benishi wish Bodawatami Menwala Kudare, Lake Superior Ojibwe Nishnabe Quen Dow. Wabajo Zibig, meanwhile Salem Indian Settlement, meanwhile Middleville, Michigan, and Donjiba. Shaganashi Moon Majima. Good afternoon, relatives. So I want you to think about where we have gathered today at a site that used education to try to erase our people, erase our spirituality, erase our languages,
our songs, our stories. And now we are proud to work on a project that is being funded by the state of Michigan to activate our Anishinaabe lifeways, to activate our Anishinaabe way of life. And it's an amazing opportunity that we have here in the state of Michigan to be able to call some of the brightest young minds and thinkers on this team. Many of them are from your own communities. They're singers, they're song creators, they're artists, they're shkabewas to many of our elders within our communities. And if we look at our prophecies, they are the new ones in the seventh prophecy that are rising up to take their rightful place, to use their voice, to use the genius and the blood memory that they carry with them to help bring our story told by us to Michigan schools. Something unheard of. I can't tell how many times those of us who have worked at the Zeboing Center have heard individuals upon leaving the Debajimuiyang permanent exhibit say, "I did not know this happened to your people. I did not know they took children away and placed them in these residential and boarding schools. I did not know they forcefully relocated you to territories unknown to you." And that was because the education system in this country failed. It failed our people miserably. It didn't tell the truth. But now we have that opportunity to place this curriculum not only within the schools, but online so that others, even outside of the state of Michigan, will have access to this. Have access to these bundles, these gifts that are being provided, written by us, told by us, created by us, drawn by us. So it's an exciting time for us here in Michigan that we'll soon be able to unveil all of this. But we still need each and every one of you. Melissa was saying, I see aunties out there and uncles, and I see rabble-rousers out there. I see activists out there. I see defiers out there. And we wet you all, especially the survivors from these schools. We have living survivors with us today. So we miigwech you for standing in defiance to still bring forth and carry all of the beautiful knowledge and blood memory that you're continually activating for us. Each and every one of you, what brought you here? You want to know more, you want to learn more, you want to reconnect. And so we hope this helps, especially our young people in the schools, to find a spark, an ignition, and a reconnection and a reactivation. The team that Melissa introduced you to, we start every meeting with spirit, with prayer, with smudge. And we're thinking about those that came before us, those that are coming after us. And in that good work, we start in that way. This beautiful, beautiful project will be imbued with that honor, the honoring of those ones who did not have a voice, the honoring of those ones who are bringing a voice still that we do not know. So we want to acknowledge each and every one of you for being a part of this day. We want to thank the Tribal Historic Preservation Office, Marcella Haddon, the Zeboing Center, Tribal Council, miigwech Chief Davis for being here with us all day. Your strength and dedication for your people is so evident. Miigwech to other leaders that are here. Because when we dance together, when we stand together, we are helping to activate one another's blood memory, one another's information and teachings and coded spiritual connection to this earth and to one another. And that is what this education bundle is about. It's about kinship systems. It's about Anishinaabe spirituality, sense of humor, sacred relatives. You know, in this curriculum, we do not call our relatives resources. We call them kin, and that we're all related. And those are some of the messages that we are providing in this curriculum. So miigwech to every one of you, because you also you're helping to write this story by being here today and by assisting in any way you can within your own communities to tell our story from our perspective and from our way of life. So I want to say miigwech, and I'm going to ask Melissa to put a call out because we're going to need some more help.
Miigwech to our sister Shannon for her beautiful words. I knew that. I was like, you're going to do so good. She speaks from her heart, and it's just so powerful. So we do have a goal today and why we're here in community in the days to come to extend an invitation. This is an invitation to an invitation. And so we didn't want to just come into community. Here, tell us your pain stories. We're going to extract your story. We're going to take it and we're going to leave you. And then you're going to wonder what happened to it. We want to take a different approach. And so as we approach the content about boarding school history, we want that to be guided by survivors and their descendants. Like I said, we don't want to come in, extract, open wounds, and then leave you. We don't want to burden you with tax forms. Here, we're going to pay you, but we're going to send you a 1099 at the end of the year. And we think that your time is more valuable than a t-shirt and a gas card. Please come, visit our hospitality tent, sit, visit, drink, eat, laugh. And if you've already done that, we appreciate you. But we just want to visit, and we want this to be guided by you. How are we going to share this history in our classrooms? You tell us. And we'll do our best to bring that to life. So again, miigwech to you all, and we look forward to celebrating the completion, or the first phase completion, because it should be ongoing, right, of this project. And so on behalf of our Indigenous Education Initiative and the Confederation of Michigan Tribal Education Departments, we say miigwech. Oh, oops. There was supposed to be this beautiful slide to accompany, and I forgot.
Melissa and Shannon, miigwech for being change agents in the system of the state of Michigan, for all the work that you're doing on behalf of our Indigenous learners. We say miigwech. So on behalf of the MIPS committee, we have a small token of our appreciation for you presenting here today. Oh, okay. All right. Just making sure I don't mess that up. Yep, they can trade them later, they said. So, but thank you so much for all the work you're doing there as well. That will conclude our program underneath the tent with one more speaker today, sorry. Last but not least, we have the honor of introducing Marcella Haddon. Marcella Haddon serves as our Tribal Historic Preservation Officer. Marcella is also part of the MIPS committee and does so much in our community and helps with this event. She is a member of the Saginaw Chippewa Indian Tribe of Michigan, and as the Tribal Historic Preservation Officer, she has done so much in our community through repatriation, as a consulting agent, and done so many other things that help bring this important work here. She has an associate degree in business from Northern Michigan University, and her office resides at the Ziegwing Center of Anishinaabe Culture and Lifeways. Marcella has worked for her tribe for over 25 years. She is also the chairperson of the MIPS committee, and she has a passion for art and photography and is the owner of Nivingizius Summer Moon Photography, which is located here in Mount Pleasant. Today, Marcella is going to give an update on what the MIPS committee has been doing, so please help me in welcoming Marcella Haddon.
We're doing some great work. All the presentations today, everything that I've heard, nothing has been overlooked. Everything has been done with purpose and good intentions today. So I'm glad you're here.
I want to thank our tribal council who is here today, and I also, this is how far we've come. Timmy is Chief Davis is my first cousin, and we lived in a housing project together, and we were talking, this is how far along we came. I'm looking at Faith right now, and I know Faith is going to know this too, but when we lived on the reservation, there was no police. Can you imagine? Can you imagine not having, something happens, what do? You call the police. We could not do that. People don't know that. They don't know how far we've come. We have a beautiful police station now, fire department. I mean, we are there. We are there. But I remember and humble from where we come from. So I just wanted to mention that. Thank you, Tribal Council, for being here. I want to introduce our, if you're here and I mention your name, just stand up. Our MIBS committee. I am the chair. We have Kathleen Lett, who is the vice chair. Kathleen. We have Eric Rodriguez. He is standing in for Frank Cloutier. Frank is on council. He is our PR secretary. Zach Francis is our treasurer. He is in Wisconsin right now. University of Wisconsin. He's working with NACRA. And it's sad that he just gave us his resignation. He's not able to be the treasurer for MIBS, but he will still stay in contact. So we will have a position open. So if you're interested in being on the committee, anybody can be on the committee as a community member. If you just want to know what's going on with these buildings, we're more than happy to have you. We have Phil Jackson. He's from the planning department, EPA. And we have Daisy. Is Phil here? I'm sorry, I forgot to pause. Nope, I don't think so. And we have Daisy Costas. Daisy is in the back. She's going to be taking care of our jiggle dress dancers today, making sure that they have a cedar bath, that they have water, that everything that they need is taken care of. The committee continues to work with Christian Nacarado. He is the Sault Ste. Marie architect who comes to us pro bono. He has been with us for over 3 years now. He is on contract with the tribe. At the end of the summer, he will be doing a computer animated design for us, which will tell us what we can do with the building. It's not going to say this building will do this. It's going to give us options because we don't know yet. And I'll tell you why in a minute. I also wanted to say, also miigwech to the other MIBS committee members. We have Charla Riley, who is working on the tent today. She is our new Zibuwe Cultural Specialist, grant and funding specialist. We also have Dr. Sarah Surface Evans and Dr. Colleen Wilson-Rood, who gave tours today. If you were able to have a tour with these ladies, they are a wealth of knowledge for us. Also that serves on the committee from Ferris State University is Dr. Colleen Green. And we have, thank you, we have Robert Adams and Don Gilpin from the University of Michigan School of Architecture. They were here today. Are they here? Oh, they are here. Okay, cool. All right. Joe Samick from PR and Isabel Osamick. We also start our meetings in a good way too, with prayer that Isabel says a prayer at the beginning of the meeting, and then she also gives us the phrase of a month. Like she'll say, the sun is finally here for springtime or something, and then we say it, we'll have one of the members say it, so that it comes out of their mouth, and you can look at it, it's different, but when you say it, it has a total different meaning. And I remember these words as they come along sometimes from my mother and grandparents. And last but not least, we have Willie Johnson, who is the manager of Zibuwe, and we also have Mindy Bailey, who is our digitization specialist. Thank you. So, a while ago, we were able to get a National Endowment for Humanities grant, and this grant was for a website for MIBS, which is great. We're working on it. And as you know, with the cuts from Congress, they took it away. We didn't have a chance to hire anybody. That money was not spent. So we were looking for someone to do this work for us. But as smart as we are, we found another pool of money for it. So that project continues. We were able to hire Obsidian website developers. They're native owned. Rocky Tano, he did the NABS website. He did People's First website. He's a cool guy. Yeah, he was the, huh? Oh, okay, yeah, yeah. So he was the only one that, when we were looking for these developers, didn't say how much is your grant. And we never disclosed that, because once you disclose that, guess what? That's what the proposal comes in as. So he never asked, we never disclosed it, and he was the one who was the awarded the contract. We couldn't have picked a better firm, really. I'm so excited for this. So you guys wait, and it's going to show a lot of the schools. It's going to be a place for healing. So we're very excited for that. We also received a National Park Service grant for $46,000, and this is coming to an end. And this grant was to hire a historic preservationist and also a structural engineer. We're going to be having their reports on the buildings, the 3 viable buildings, the ones that's 2 in the fence and the one that is outside the wood shop. So they're going to be giving us a report, and those reports are going to help Christian with the computer animated design, because we can't say we want to do this. We don't know if it's going to be structurally sound to do that. So all 3 of them play an important connection with each other. And then also we have the University of Michigan, who from the Tubman College of Architectures, we have LiDAR scanning. This was another NEH program that didn't go through. But as smart as we are, and as smart as the U of M is, they found an individual person who took their funds and said, I believe in this program, I'm going to give you that money. I'm going to give you $15,000 to do that. So I don't want to mention his name, but yeah, that was really great news. And things like this happen. You know, we'll be sitting in the committee one day, and all of a sudden, oh yeah, by the way, that $1.7 million grant came through to refurbish the buildings for us. Good things just seem to happen. It's really great. We continue to work with the Brownsfields grant on remediation and lead and asbestos. 4 of the buildings now are totally clean, free of lead and asbestos. Yes, yes. And I also want to thank Tribal Council for allowing the money. There's a process when you ask for council for money. You have to go through a process. You have to let them know what funding did you seek. There's a certain process in how it's written. And so they were able to give us money for roof repairs because the roofs were leaking. And also, so to stabilize the roofs. And then also we have another process that we're up to now. When these buildings, when you're done doing everything that you can to them, there's a process called mothballing. And that means that it's sealed up, but it's enough where it can breathe, and then it's enough sunlight in that will kill the mold and everything. So we are at that point now where 3 of the buildings will be mothballed, and that money came directly from the Saginaw Chippewa Indian Tribe. That and the money for roofing. And I'm almost done. I know it's been a long day. We're almost to the healing part. It's nice and sunny. We always worry about rain, but no rain today, so it's been great. We're almost, we will be hiring our weekend volunteers who will make sure that they have a presence here on the weekend. Last week, was it last week or the week before, they arrested someone who was inside the buildings. They had their K-9 unit come out and they arrested the person. And this person had a hammer and he was breaking the locks, just physically breaking the locks right off the building. So for that, weekend volunteers will help to deter some of that. And then we had a strategic planning session with the MIBS committee that was held in March. And that we came up with a commitment, and here's our commitment. We are committed to preserving the MIBS buildings and land while continuing accurate research to honor the legacies of students and survivors and to promote healing of intergenerational trauma for the empowerment of future generations. So I want to leave you with that. Thank you. Miigwech.